Welcome back to Families in Action here on KHTS AM 1220, your hometown station. We are going over the Parents' Bill of Rights. That's right, I said the Parents' Bill of Rights.
We actually have those?
And if you're a parent sitting out there, did you know that number 8 on the hit parade is you have the right to set limits without regard for what other parents do? Someday, I will find this mythical parent that allows their child to do anything they want and ask them to leave the planet.
You know what, Mike? I meet those parents all the time. Sometimes, and this is, I promise you, no disrespect meant to anybody, but when people come to us, to our groups, I can't figure out how it's so out of control. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong. Where did it go wrong? You know what I'm saying? I can't figure it out because it's so out of control. So I think if you look back at it, here's where it went wrong. What's the one right before that?
The what?
What's the
the one right before that is you have the right to say no.
I think that's where it went wrong. We forget that we can say no, and we say yes to everything, and all of a sudden it gets out of control and we want to say no. Now it's a battle.
That's right. And you know, who they come home and they say, but Jeannie's mom lets her, Bobby's mom lets him. A, how do you know if that's true? And B, who cares?
Who cares? And that's exactly what I say when I hear that. I don't really care what they do.
That's right.
Other parents.
That's right.
What I got to worry is about what I'm comfortable doing in my home as a dad.
Now, do you think this would play very well? Let's say that a husband looks at his wife who just told him no, he couldn't go buy this new fishing boat. Right. And he says, but Joe's wife just told him he could. Exactly. Doesn't that sound silly?
It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
No,
so why does it make sense if the children tell you that and you knuckle under and say, oh,
exactly.
Okay.
Because it's going back to what we were saying earlier. We want our kids to like us.
I got number 9.
At any cost sometimes.
There you go. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And number 9, moving right along, you have the right to privacy. And this is talking about adults again. You have the right to take your own private possessions and do not have to account to your child about your inner thinking or feelings. Oh, that's a scream. I love that.
I'll tell you what. I don't know. I've been doing this for an awful long time, and I'll tell you what, so many parents, that's all they do is be parent. They go to work, they come home, they worry about their kid, they go back to sleep, they go to work, they come home. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a question.
They forget that they have to take care of themselves.
Let me ask you a question. When you first had children,
right,
and you and your wife are not able to go out because you're doing this, and
suddenly everything changes. That's for sure.
Suddenly, somebody says, "Hey, we're going to give you guys can go out and have dinner together, whatever." And they make arrangements. You get a sitter. You go out. What's the first thing you do? You start talking about your kids.
Of course, they're your everything.
Yeah. First time you were able to get away from them, and what do? You talk about them. Absolutely.
That's right. So it's kind of one of those things that we have to have a life. You've been on an airplane?
Yes.
What do they call them now? Stewardesses, right?
Stewards, yeah.
Flight attendants.
Flight attendants, right.
And one of the first things they say now, if we come into turbulence and blah, 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 and there's a change in oxygen, masks will fall. Right. If you're traveling with a small child, please put yours on first.
And
Why?
Some people think that's strange.
Because if you don't learn how to take care of yourself first, you're not able to take care of anybody else.
That's right.
And it's the same thing when it comes to parenting and everything else. You got to learn how to be okay with yourself. If you're not okay with yourself, you're going to have issues with everybody around you.
And you do not have to account to your child for your inner thoughts or feelings.
No. They're not your parents, and they're definitely not your therapist. They're your kids. Let them be kids.
How could a 14-year-old be a therapist? They can't even make decisions on their own. Their brain isn't developed.
No, but we treat our kids like therapists a lot.
I hear you.
Tell them what's going on and tell them what's bothering us and put all the weight of the world on a little 14-year-old. Not a good idea.
Okay, now the next one, number 10. How many times have you heard some parents say, I have no life? Well, guess what? In the Parents' Bill of Rights, you have the right to your own life. Although being a parent is a primary role in your life, it's unhealthy for it to be your only role.
What happens is if we don't take care of ourselves, and I said this a few minutes ago, I'll say it again, we get sick. We get diseases. We get depressed. we get suicidal. We drink too much again. We eat too much. We gamble too much. We look for things that make us feel good in all the wrong places.
Buy a car you can't afford.
Buy a car you can't afford. Spend $1,000 on shoes.
Oh boy!
I mean, whatever the deal is, we're out there trying to fix ourselves when really the answer's within. We have to learn how to take care of ourselves, be okay in our own skin before anything else really counts.
That's right.
Otherwise, everything else is quick fixes. It feels good for a minute. Boy, that car felt so, I love that car. When you get in it, then you're out of it. Piece of jewelry or nice clothes that you just bought. It feels great when you put them on, but now you take them off.
That's right.
So it's an inside job. All that other stuff don't really count. On that note, you know what does count?
What?
Our breaks.
Oh, right.
This is Families in Action on our hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Lindsay?
Welcome back to Families in Action on our hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Again, I'm Cary Quashen along with my co-host, Mike. And Mike, let's go all the way to number one. Let's go all the way there and just read that first paragraph again. Many families.
The Parents' Bill of Rights. Many families find themselves in stormy situations when their adolescent goes through the difficult period of a development time. These crises are often accompanied by rebellion, drug, alcohol abuse, and dependency, poor communication, low self-esteem, disrespect for authority, lack of motivation, academic problems, and conflicts associated with divorce, death, peer pressure, and the stress and strains associated with living in today's society. There are no bad kids. However, there are kids who make bad decisions.
And that's why we're doing the Bill of Rights. And let me tell you this before we hit number 11 and 12. Kids are different. Kids don't ask for help the way adults do.
That's right.
Well, some adults act like kids, and they do. But here's how kids ask for help. They act out. They punch holes in walls. They cuss you out. They disappear for days. They write poetry that is bad or dangerous. They ditch school.
They change their hair.
They change their hair. They have low self-esteem. They cut on themselves. Those are ways kids ask. They're screaming for help. Hey, somebody look at me. I need help. I'm hurting.
Yeah.
They don't know enough to come over and say, wow, I'm just so depressed and I don't know what's bothering me. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they just act it out. So we really need to look for all those kinds of signs and realize, hey, there's something wrong here. And by the way, when a 2-year-old throws a temper tantrum, it's a 2-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. When an 18-year-old throws a temper tantrum, it's loud, it's scary, but it's still a temper tantrum.
There you go.
That's where number 11 is. That's why I'm doing this.
Number 11 on the Parents' Bill of Rights. You have the right to inquire about your child's behavior. Parents often become afraid to ask their child about unusual behavior or even how their day was, because at best they are unresponsive and at worst they react with psychotic rage.
Remember, temper tantrums, that's what we were just talking about.
There you go.
Remember this, a great defense when it comes to your children dealing with you is an attack, is an offense. That's a defense for them. Versus answering your questions, they're going to come on the attack.
And I love this. They may not thank you for your inquiries, but the costs of not asking are too great to risk. Boy, is that a fact.
You know, I tell that to parents all the time. Hey, you know what? You're doing it because you love your kids.
There you go.
You know, there's 4 pieces of parenting. If you're missing one, your kid's in big trouble. You always have to come from where? Love, of course. But if you just love your kid, you can love them to death. So you got to have love and you got to have discipline. If you just discipline them, you're going to discipline them to death.
Right.
You know, and then you got to have structure and support. You got to have all 4 of that for your kid to become healthy and rounded.
Now, the Parents' Bill of Rights, number 12. This is the conclusion of the Bill of Rights. You're going to jump all over this, Cary.
Probably am.
You have the right to parent your child. Some parents fear that if they parent their child, they will lose them.
They want to be buddies.
That's backwards logic, isn't it?
That's backwards logic.
Often
by the way, and you said it perfect earlier.
What's that?
You're friends with your kids now. But at first, you were their parent.
That's right.
No matter what. Then you could buddy up.
100%. And a lot of times they didn't like me at all, but that's okay. I was a big boy. I could take it.
That's right.
Isn't that amazing? Some parents feel that if they're afraid of this. If they parent their child, they will lose them. Often they seek to be their child's friend, or worse yet, they parentify their child. Let their child become the parent and seek the approval for their child for everything they do. Oh, help.
I see it all the time, Mike. The kids are in complete control.
Well, let me ask
the
you.
The parents just surrendered. I give up.
You can answer this question in one word.
Yeah.
Does it work?
No.
Why not?
You want to ask me again?
Does it work?
No.
You want to think about that before you say it?
Nope. But first of all, your child's brain's not even developed to their mid-20s. The part of their brain that's not developed is what? The part that makes decisions.
Decisions, right.
So it's our job as a parent to help them make decisions until their brain is developed enough for them to be able to make decisions.
There you go.
So a lot of times you ask your child, why'd you do that? And they go, oh, no. Guess
no.
what? They don't know.
But I'm 18. I can make up my own mind.
Yeah, I'm 18. I can make up my own. Well, it's kind of crazy because we're saying their brain's not developed, which is true.
Right.
But we let them join the military. We let
them
vote.
We give them a gun.
We give them a gun. So we do a lot of things. In some places they can drink.
We were talking with John Lutz from the California Highway Patrol. He said, when I was in my 20s, I joined the California Highway Patrol. My brain isn't even developed, and they give me a gun.
He did say that, didn't he?
He did say that.
And
so it's okay.
And he lets me pull people over. I guess the message we're giving is, hey, you know what? Here's my thinking when it comes to parenting is number one, we don't own our kids. They're ours. They're on loan. Our job is to protect them, to love them, to teach them right and wrong.
Now, let me interrupt you for 1 second, because for me this is powerful, and I just have to say this.
Sure.
Some people aren't going to get a hold of this part, but I'm going to say it this way. Your children are a gift from God.
Yes. Yes. And that's exactly what they are. They're a gift, but they're not a piece of property. We don't own them. One day they're going to hit whatever that magical age is, 18, 19, 20, 16, whatever it is, 28, and they're going to move out, and they're going to have to now fend for themselves. So our job really is to teach them right and wrong.
Teach them well.
Teach them well. Get them through their schooling. Keep them away from the dark side as much as we possibly can. And hey, this one's even bigger than all of them to me. Be role models. Be examples of what you want them to grow up to be.
That's right. Don't say do as I don't do as I do as I say. That doesn't work.
Does not work.
I know, because my dad used to say that to me, and it used to infuriate me.
Yeah,
it's like, Dad, come on, you're doing this and you tell me not to do it. What's that all about?
Yeah, be the person you want your kids to be. So when you go to bed at night, be proud of yourself. So one day when you go to bed, you'll be proud of your children.
And buy into this Parents' Bill of Rights. Yeah. It'll change your life.
It'll change your life.
It'll change your children's life.
And the other thing is, when it comes to dealing with your children, we have about a minute left. I just want to say, Denny's is open 24 hours a day. And the reason I'm saying that is because if we're going to argue and disagree about what's going on with our children, don't do it in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Find a place where you can go and discuss it between yourselves. If you're married, single, separated, or divorced, whatever the deal is, get on the same page and then present it to your child.
When my wife and I did that, we were unstoppable. We'd come up with a plan and kerbang. That was it. It was a home run.
Because they can't conquer and divide.
Correct.
And by the way, when they conquer and divide, the ultimate loser is probably them.
Mm-hmm.
Our self-esteem, we're beat up, beat down, feel terrible because, hey, we surrendered. But at the end of the day, they pay the bigger price.
Cary, congratulations on using this at Action Family Counseling. This is big stuff.
You got it, Mike. Hey, you've been my co-host for the last couple of weeks while Bob's been on vacation.
Yeah.
I love having you here.
Been blast.
It's been great. And, hey, you want to close us out?
All right. I don't know what to say except have a good one.
This is Families in Action on your local hometown station, AM 1220. KHTS till next week. Happy Monday.